what we should do. It was positive, to be fair. And yeah, we're not all right at the end of the day, but we want the game to improve and we need numbers to be up. And we're all genuine concerned as rugby people that it has gone down this last few years. So hopefully, if we all speak about it and something will be done about it, that's what we want to have
Yeah.
done, is improve rugby in Wales.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we'll continue that debate because it did generate a fair few comments on the Facebook page. But we are going to talk football now. We're going to get into the West Wales Cup matches and what happened in the Division 1 game and look ahead to the weekend. But we do need to start by paying tribute really to Leon Arundel from St Clair's AFC. And you may well have read this in the official statement that St Clair's put out over the weekend. They said that as a club they were devastated to share the heartbreaking news that Leon, at the age of 14, had sadly passed away after a tragic accident. The statement went on to say, "Our deepest and most sincere condolences and love go to Kaylee, Bobby, Charlie, who are Leon's family, friends, teammates, and everyone who had the privilege of knowing this hardworking and fine young man." We add to that here at Pure West Sport and send our love to the family. That was absolutely awful news to read. St Clair's didn't play any matches. All of their games involving their sides at the weekend were postponed. And Fraser, at junior sports over the weekend, Leon was remembered as well, wasn't he?
That's right. I was actually at the meadow on Saturday morning. My son was playing there in the 4G surface football. And a moment's silence there. And I was actually in St David's Rugby Club on Sunday for minis rugby, and a minute's silence there. And it did have a profound effect. Obviously, he was well known. He formerly played, I think, cricket and rugby with Whitland as well. He's at Carmarthen Quins now, football for St Clair's, and it's just heartbreaking. Just one of those circumstances which just puts everything else into perspective, isn't it? Terrible.
It certainly does. Thinking of Leon's family tonight and everyone at St Clair's AFC, we send all of our love here on Pure West Sport. Football did go on across the county over the weekend, though, and it was the West Wales Cup second round for Pembrokeshire sides. Don't forget, Dan, in the first hour of the show, does a brilliant roundup of all of the action, so you can listen back to that. We thought we'd just pick out a few of the games. For Hakin United, Fraser, their excellent start to the season continued, didn't it, with a 4-0 win over Drevac. They powered through to the next round.
Yeah, I expected that, to be honest with you. I expected them to win that one at home, and they do look good in it. Scott said last week it's not about making a statement, of course. He just wants to get through to the next round, and I think they overcame a bit of weather, as Gordon mentioned there, but I did expect that. The one disappointment for me, I suppose, from Pembrokeshire point of view that stood out was Moncton going out. Obviously went very deep in the competition last year. You want to see our better sides going deep again, but good wins elsewhere, of course. Fishguard as well, and Tenby as well winning, so...
Yeah, Fishguard, Gordon, they put 7 past Llandovery Town, didn't they? That was you talk about statement victories, that's a pretty good one in round 2.
Yeah, Adam Lawrence had a hat-trick there, and it's good to see Fishguard get a boost because the league form hasn't been up to speed, and Phil Jones will be delighted, the manager, that they got a good win in the Cup, which bodes well this week in the league.
And for Tenby, Fraser, you mentioned that Scott Fernie hat-trick, 5-0 win over Llangennec. Do you expect them to go deep in this competition?
Well, we said it the last couple of years that Tenby are a dangerous cup side, haven't we? And they reached the West Wales Cup final last year to prove it. I watched them at Goodwick earlier in the year, and I thought they had the squad and the team that were capable of challenging for the title if they could produce that sort of performance consistently. They haven't done that. That has to be said, that their league form has been a bit erratic since then. They've dropped vital points of late. They haven't yet made that transition into doing it consistently, but certainly, they can beat anybody on their day in Pembrokeshire and beyond. So, yeah, I would expect them to be a threat in this competition, Ben, definitely.
And just to mention for Goodwick, I think, Gordon, you were saying that their match is going to be this Saturday. They're drawn to play Seaside, but it was postponed. Was that weather-related?
I believe it was weather-related, Ben.
Ironically named Seaside. And,
yeah, a few waves came in, and the game was called off on Saturday. It'll be played this Saturday, hopefully. Weather permitting. I mean, if they don't play this Saturday, they'll have to reverse the fixture and play away. Yeah. So I think they'll be keen to try and get it done at Phoenix Park this coming Saturday.
Yeah, fingers crossed that one goes ahead. So there were West Wales Cup games, but there were also a couple of matches in Division 1. Carew 1, Pennar Robins 1, and Clarbeston Road 0, Merlin's Bridge 3 were the 2 games. Fraser, thoughts on those 2?
vital point for Carew. Takes them out the bottom two for the first time this season, I believe. And they now have what looks a huge game this coming Saturday away at Kilgetty. Right. Kilgetty currently second bottom, and Carew, I think, just above them on either by a point or on goal difference. So, yeah, they have picked up a little bit. Carew, they had a very harrowing start. Obviously, a difficult summer. Lost a key player in Sean Whitfield. To Tenby have lost a couple of key players over the last couple of years. So, yeah, that was a big result for them, and a good result for Merlinsbridge actually, because they've been up and down to win at that.
Talking about Merlinsbridge, all weather pitches, they play on it every week. They happen to win on grass on Saturday.
Yeah. Ironically, yeah.
It's an interesting one. I think we might pick this up actually in the final part of the show tonight. But what's just generally, and just maybe to set up what we might cover in the final part, what's your view on those all-weather pitches? We said Tom obviously was watching the Haverfordwest game at the weekend. That's now an all-weather surface. What's the answer there? Do we need more of these pitches across the county? They're not cheap, are they? But they do the job at this time of year.
No, there's huge costs and logistical implications, but they certainly can be a blessing in terms of teams training and playing every week. I don't think it's quite as simple as some people think. Some people think they should just be booked out all day on a Saturday for football if it's raining. You've got to remember there's a lot of other bookings from other sports that take place on those pitches too. But certainly when you get to this month, and Gordon knows it himself, how frustrating this can be, because if you have cup games called off, they have to replay the following Saturday. And, we've known games be reversed twice. You had 4 or 5 weeks of bad weather, and then all of a sudden you're behind in the league. So for a team like Merlinsbridge or Haverfordwest County at that level, I know there's a lot of teams in the Welsh Premier that have them, to have that facility available, it is a vital. I do agree. I don't agree that all kids football and junior football should be played on them. I don't know what you think, Gord. I think you should be able to tough it out on grass. My other concern about it is it's a hard surface, hard on the joints. I'm just wondering in a few years' time that some of the players regret in playing on that type of surface, but that will come down the road.
Is there a slight imbalance, though, do you think, where teams that have got their all-weather pitches, in effect, could play all of their home matches? So does it also risk, because you have both, does it risk actually the league becoming a bit imbalanced? Because one side could just fulfil every single home match on the all-weather surface, and there'll be other teams playing catch-up. So from an administrative point of view, is it actually a bit tricky?
It's a fair point, actually.
It is a valid point, actually, Ben. It really is, yeah.
But then, I suppose you'd have to have that in place throughout the board. And I believe in the Welsh Premier, not every team is a 4G pitch, do they? Or Haverfordwest County didn't until the last 12 months. I
think at least 10 or 11 are now, mate. They've gone down that route.
But a lot depends on where you're located, obviously, and if you're in a position to make the investment in the bookings. But they certainly, at this time of year for training, if nothing else, there's nothing better, Ben.
No, they're good. Just a few other scores, actually, to mention, just whilst we're on the local football. Tom, you touched on a big win for Broadhaven in Division 3, 6-0 home to Letterston. You weren't involved, though, were you? You were at the Oggy Bridge Meadow.
I was at the Oggy Bridge Meadow, sadly. I haven't featured half as much as I wanted to this season. I was like, I'm going to be available, and I have not been available is the short answer. But they seem to be they're scraping by without me, which is good to see.
Go on, Fraser.
I will say my favourite West Wales Cup. Coy de Bryn came down to Solva. They had a good win, actually. I don't think any
they did
this week, but did see a great picture. Actually went viral. They were all outside the pub afterwards, and Solva all dressed as WWE wrestlers. A proper old school West Wales away trip. I love that. I did like seeing it.
And also a take-in on the slab is usually there. They control the slab. There was a guy with guys. There were about 3 or 4 drums from Drivach.
I saw this.
Singing all the way through, even though their team lost 4-0. They went through the thunderstorm. They were still going. You know what I mean? It was brilliant.
That was brilliant. That was the beauty of the West Wales Cup in years gone by. I used to hate getting a home draw. People ask why lower league sides enter it because the prospect of winning it's so unlikely. But it was for an away draw and a bus trip, And
a lot of the supporters, I don't know where this come from. They like to dress fancy dress as well. They come down in fancy dress. It's just bizarre.
They called themselves the Dravac Ultras, didn't they? I saw the pictures, and it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
I called them Dravac Barmy Army.
It was good, and that's the beauty of the West Wales Cup, isn't it? It's good to see. Also, guys, in Division 4, there were some crazy scorelines this weekend, including Neyland Reserves 6, Hundleton 6. That's a classic. Isn't it?
We're on top. As simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we had 2 8-1s as well in Division 4. Newport Tigers 8, Johnston Reserves 1, and St Florence also putting 8 past St Ishmael. So it was definitely a weekend for goals. Is that weather related? Do we think was the wind playing havoc?
Ask our very own Dan Metcalf, I think, runs Johnson second. So I don't know what defence he had lined up. I imagine a few goals on Saturday were wind assisted, mate. Yes.
Yeah, it could well be.
Dan in goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does play in goal, doesn't he, as well? Yeah, from time to time, doesn't he? Okay, yeah, well, maybe we'll get him to comment on that. We should say as well, if you head to our Facebook page, we have got tickets for tomorrow night's game at the Oggy Bridge Meadow to give away. So that's Haverfordwest against Barry. You need to like and share the post. We're going to be announcing the winner tomorrow on Pure West, so you can do that right now. Win yourself some tickets. And actually, that was a decent game on Saturday. I think TNS went into a 3-0 lead, didn't they? Corey Shepherd and Ben Arman reduced that deficit. Tom, was it close? Were the Bluebirds close to nicking a point?
Very close. I think if there's only 4 minutes of added minutes at the end of the second half, and I genuinely believe if there was just another 2 or 3, Haverfordwest were in the ascendancy in that last 10 minutes. I think it was a matter of time, and we just weren't afforded that time, sadly. But I was actually really impressed with how well Haverfordwest absorbed the pressure. I think I mentioned that to Tony in the first hour. And he played Luke, who was man marking someone throughout the match. And I was like, you know what? They're doing a really good job. There's 2 set pieces that conceded. The through ball in open play for one of TNS's goals was like weighted and pinpoint perfect. There's not much you can do against that.
Highlights,
It was amazing. And then Elliot Scott going off injured. He's been, for me, the safe head at the back, which they've missed, and then him going off injured was a turning point. But they didn't give up, and it was really exciting that end of the second half.
Yeah, what it means though is Haverfordwest 11th going into that game tomorrow with Barry, who are 6th, and they really need to win that tomorrow night, don't they? Because Barry are on 19.
It's a cup
okay, it's a cup game tomorrow. Okay, all right. So
if they win, they're in the semi-final.
Even so, that will reignite the season a bit, won't it? And the other thing I was going to say for TNS, all the talk of making it a slightly more competitive league with Pennar pushing them, but that win for TNS, I mean, they're nearly 10 points clear at the top of the table again, and it looks like another procession. They're a decent side, they've got the money, they've got the budget, but it's not great for the Cymru Premier, is it, that TNS have such a big lead at this stage in the season?
I think it was misleading last year, people talking about the gap being closed. They had that quite draining Europe Conference League campaign, TNS, didn't they? They didn't really get going until halfway through the season, so actually getting knocked out early has probably helped them in that respect. So yeah, they're still clear of their fully professional side. They should be. And no, you are right. You want to see competitive title races, don't you? But they are the benchmark at the moment. It's up to everyone else to breach it, really.
Absolutely right. And if you listen back to the first hour of the show,
Barry United were the top side.
Yeah, they were.
They dominated for years as well, going back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, as part of the strategy launch, Haverfordwest have actually committed now. We want to be a fully professional side. It's on their strategy in their document, which you can look on their website.
And Tom did a great interview actually with Becky Nuttall, the CEO at Haverfordwest, which you can listen back to from the first hour. That will be on the catch-up page on purewestradio.com. All right, we're going to take a moment and come back for the final part. I think we'll try and check in with the indoor cricket that is going on today. We also had the Sport Pembrokeshire nominations out as well. Big numbers, once again, people nominated across the county. So we'll touch on some of those. Who'd want to be a judge picking those, Gord?
Tough decisions, isn't
it? I know. If only we knew one. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. Final part of Pure West Sport coming up next.
Eaton-Evans and Morris Solicitors.